Andrew, how are you going to proceed now with Patrick Dangerfield's free agency request?
Obviously it was disappointing news, Rich, but we understand that his reasons were personal, family related. So look, now we've got to, obviously the issue becomes one of compensation, and we've got to take the decisions and take the actions necessary to ensure that the interests of the football club are looked after. So that's what we're going to do.
When do you get a sighting of what he possibly could get at Geelong, so you know whether you can or can't match it?
Well, there's a process and a timeline for when a club may put its bid forward. That's part of the free agency window. But look, we'll just we'll commence those negotiations, and as I said earlier, we'll do all that we need to do to ensure that we can look after the interests of this footy club. And I said absolutely assure our members and our supporters that we'll be doing that with vigour.
So, Andrew, fair to say you wouldn't be satisfied with the compensation pick 14, you want a lot more than that?
Look, we've got a pretty firm view as to what we're after. I think it's inappropriate for me to articulate that in this forum. There's a negotiation to take place. We're going to try and get what we would like, and said we've got a pretty clear picture of what that is.
So you feel you'll be able to match what Geelong's offer is for Paddy, assumingly?
Well, that's something to play out. So at the moment it's a negotiation. That's where it will start, and if we get that far, well then we'll make decisions at that point in time. But look, you guys, I think across a bunch of the details, you can probably make a pretty clear assessment of that yourselves.
Andrew, when you talk about family related, how much compassion are you prepared to show there on family issues?
In what respect, mate?
In terms of, he puts a very compassionate case as to why he needs to be at Geelong. Well, how do you factor that in, or do you say no, that's not on the table for us anyway?
Yeah, well, ultimately, Paddy had to make a decision as to where he wanted to play his football. We did everything that we could possibly do to keep him, and in Paddy's own words, if it was just on the football club, on the health of the football program, on the chances of future success here at Adelaide, on his enjoyment of the city of Adelaide and the people that he spends time with throughout every day and every week, then he'd have no reason to leave, but for a compulsion to go home and be back in Geelong with his family and Marty's family. So that's the basis of his decision to leave. Now there are some processes in place that look to compensation. So we've just got to work our way through those, but we'll be doing that absolutely with a club first attitude and about looking after the interests of the football club. And the football club for 2016 and onwards.
How do you feel about free agency at the moment? You've seen it elsewhere. How do you think the AFL's gone about it?
Look, I think it's the start of a process that's going to get bigger, broader and wider. As you said, I come from a free agent environment, and I think that perhaps we're still a little immature in that regard. I think that as an industry, I also think that perhaps the system is a little half pregnant at the moment as well, and that's the reason there's lots of debate around these issues of compensation and comparing one player's exit to another one. That's because the system probably just doesn't cater for it appropriately at the moment. But the rules that are in place are the rules that are in place, and as far as we're concerned, we'll be working our way through those, as I said, to ensure that the interests of this footy club are looked after.
Andrew, a good chance that he'll win the best and fairest, his first on Saturday night. Obviously, a lot of aggrieved fans out there. Is there any, some suggesting he shouldn't go to the best and fairest? Do you want to put that to bed? He's obviously welcome there.
Yeah, look, he is welcome. He contributed enormously to the success of the team this year. He was an important part of the team that went out there each week and qualified for finals for the first time in a few years. And he played his role and he deserves to go to the best and fairest. Again, I come from a free agent environment. I'm used to dealing with this. Used to dealing with players leaving and then players obviously arriving more frequently than occurs within the AFL. I understand that people are emotional about it. I understand that they're very, very passionate about it. But I but I think that they need to recognise the performances of all individuals who pulled on the jumper throughout the course of this season. They all deserve to go to our best and fairest event. That's one part of the process. The next part of the process is what the club does to ensure that we're compensated for his departure. So they're two quite separate issues.
How did you learn of Paddy's departure? When did you first officially get told or have an inkling? Obviously, sometime we all thought he might be going, but when did you really know he was out?
It was just a few weeks prior to the end of the season, just before finals. And look, it's important to understand that through the course of the season, we asked Paddy to, if he was to make a decision, when he was to make a decision, that he would let us know what that decision was, either positively or negatively, so that it would give us appropriate time to continue to manage our list. We made the undertaking that if he was to tell us, prior to the end of the season, then we would certainly keep that information confidential. And so that's what he did. It was in our interest, footy club's interest, to get that information as early as possible so that we could proceed with our list management discussions with greater levels of certainty. So we're certainly appreciative of the fact that he was able to tell us once he'd made that decision and enable that work to take place.
And to talk about emotions, those Crows fans will say we sat on it. Do you feel that they might have had a right to know, or what was the process of how you decided whether they should know or shouldn't know?
Yeah. Well, this is part of the riddle, I guess, Michelangelo, that I only knew because of the undertaking that was made to keep it confidential, should he be prepared to tell us prior to the end of the season. If that undertaking wasn't provided, then he wouldn't have told us, and like most other free agents, you'd be finding out sometime during October. That's not in the interests of the footy club. So I think that our supporters would understand that it's better to strike an agreement like that, keep it confidential, but be able to proceed with other important discussions within the footy program for the benefit of the football club, and said we were appreciative of him doing that.
Was it beneficial also to you not to have what we would describe as a circus going on week after week in season?
Yeah, look, it was really important. So, look, my personal opinion is the whole process has been handled as well as possible. It's not easy. So if you look back at this, at the component pieces, we've got enormous scrutiny on Patrick Dangerfield for the entirety of the season, the pre-season and the in-season period. And during that period, he was able to play well. Again, I think we've got numerous examples of players who are in similar situations, perhaps right across codes, who've been unable to perform at the highest levels while they're contemplating such a serious decision, particularly with the scrutiny that he had to do that under here in Adelaide and within the AFL. So he played well. His performance contributed to the team playing well. He played his role. He was able to tell us early so we could get on with important business of developing our list. And then when we get to the post-season period, I wanted to ensure, and the conversation I had with Paddy was that you need to tell the players to their faces. You need to not be that person who does it by text message or by Instagram, or maybe doesn't even say goodbye, they just leave, because you owe it to them. And he's his own man, and he was up for that. He said absolutely he wants to be able to do that. So that was going to happen post-season. Tommy, as you asked before, I then wanted him to go to the BNF and again have the opportunity to walk the room and to say to sponsors and to board members and to staff members and to the receptionist on the front desk and to his coaching staff that say goodbye, and these are the reasons why I'm going. I think it's really important when you make these tough decisions that you know people are disappointed in, that you front up and you let them know why. So it's perhaps unusual, but I think that is the way it should happen. It's tough because it's emotional and people are disappointed about the decision, but let's not have an elephant in the room at those sorts of events at the end of the year. So I think we handled it as well as we possibly could.
Was he at all reluctant? Was he at all reluctant when you were talking about that sort of stuff with him?
No, like he understood it, so it wasn't a debate. He certainly put the concept to him, thought it was really important, and he agreed that it was. So he wanted to be able to do that, and so it was always planned that we would do that in the week after we finished up, which was obviously this week.
Was it uncomfortable to go through probably 4 weeks of knowing one thing but having to say something else?
Well, Rich, throughout that entire period, I think I provided the same boring line to you guys, which was we're not going to provide a running commentary on contracting matters. So I didn't. So that line didn't change from effectively week 1 to until a couple of days ago, yesterday. So look, the hard thing was just knowing that you'd lost a player. That's always going to be the hard thing whenever we have a player that decides to leave the football club. But that's the wheel turns. We've got a club that's in great shape. We've got a club that returned to the finals this year, finished 6th, significant improvement on last year, particularly given some of the circumstances that we've had to deal with throughout the course of the season. We've got a great football program now. We're in a unique position that we're hiring a coach with a great football program in place. It almost invariably is the opposite. You're wishing for someone to come in and regenerate, change or overhaul your program. So we've got a great program. We've finished 6th. We've got a really healthy list that we'll build upon so that we can continue to improve over the coming years.
So how do you decide what's fair compensation? What sort of process do you go through? Do you consult others, or do you have enough people you feel within your own organisation to say, yes, it is, this is the way it should be done?
Yeah, we've got a really strong list management group. There's enormous experience. We've got some really well-developed systems. We obviously know, we've got a really strong feel for values. We're in that market. We're trading, in and out all the time as a football club. So, we're really clear about what, that value or that appropriate compensation is. Now it's a negotiation, and we'll see where it ends up.
So if push comes to shove, would you match that offer if you had to?
Oh, mate, I'm just, I know you'd love me to say it, but it's ultimately, the process is more complex than that. It starts now, and it'll continue through until a decision's made, and there's lots of steps in that process. We'll get it done as soon as possible in the best interest of the footy club, and we'll go as hard as we need to try and get what we want.
And just on the coach, you obviously talked about that process. Is it disappointing that John's out of the process and wants to go to Essendon, and how far away from a decision there are you, do you think?
Yeah, no, look, obviously there was a lot of talk about John, mostly from outside the football club. I was the guy that called him on the 4th of July, the day after Walshy passed away, and asked him would he be prepared to come and help out, and to be a safe set of hands while we were dealing with extraordinary circumstances. And I was really pleased that he said yes, and he's done a fantastic job with us over the last 3 months. He was really clear in that conversation as well that it would be a 3-month gig, and that would be it. And we took that for what it was worth. Now, we obviously know that during the course of the season, probably is spending more time in footy, ignited a bit of his passion to return to a full-time role. Again, when he made that clear to us, and we were obviously talking on a daily basis, he also indicated that if he was going to return, it was pretty much going to be either in Perth, where he was currently situated, or in Melbourne, where for family reasons he could have a far more settled existence than he could being an interstate club. So that was really important to him, and we understood that, and that's where it started and finished. So for us, so it really didn't end up being a contemplation as we're going through our process to appoint our coach. And look, we're really happy with it, with where that's at the moment. I was really happy that happy with the process that we've gone through to date. We've still got some discussions that we need to have. We're still on track to make a decision by the early part of October. As we announced earlier, Campo came to see me earlier this week to let me know that he didn't wish to put his hand up to be considered for the role, for family reasons, for personal reasons. Timing's critically important in these decisions. It is more of a lifestyle than a job. It's all-consuming, and his belief was he wanted to at the moment, go back into the midfield role, the senior assistant role with the club. He'll go back as a better coach. It's an absolute privilege for us to have him. He's a great tactician and strategist. Now he's got experience in the main chair, which I think has given him an even greater lens for the game. And he said to me, mate, I miss my midfield group. I want to go spend some more time with those boys. And I've got no doubt that down the track, should he wish to put his hand up for a senior coaching role, that he'll do a great job.
Do you feel a sense of owing it to him, that chance to stay? Do you feel, after what he's been through in 3 months, that he was owed to have that first opportunity to stay, rather than wait for a new coach to come in and decide?
It was a decision for Campo to decide whether he actually wanted the role. This is, I watched with amusement at times with the discussions that were taking place, outside the football club around, Campo should just accept, he should just be given this job.
I'm not talking about the senior job. I said once he made that decision not to apply for the senior one, right. Usually you wait for the senior coach to be appointed and then decide whether. But did you feel your sense that you owed him the chance to still stay here regardless of who you appointed as senior coach?
Well, look, we had already had discussions with Campo much earlier this year around a renewal of his deal as a midfield coach. Those discussions actually took place with Phil and with myself prior to Phil's death, and so it was always the case that in fact effectively already a commitment to stay on with the football club, and we obviously endorsed that. So I was very happy that he's happy to return back to that role. I said, as a better coach, we're going to benefit from that, and I'm absolutely positive that whoever is appointed as a senior coach will be rapt to have him as the senior assistant.
And I assume that Paddy will attend the Crows table at the Brownlow medal count. Will it be embarrassing if he wins it knowing he's leaving, or will that still be a great thing for the club?
Well, he will have won the Brownlow medal while playing for the Adelaide Football Club, and that'll be a unique part of the history of the club for years to come, I guess, and will make for some good barroom discussion. So look, it's if he earns that right, or he wins that award, the Adelaide Football Club will be pleased for him. Said he's performed well throughout the course of the year, and he deserves the accolades that he's either received or that he might receive into the future. So you look at the season of performance and you make your decisions based on that. We then look forward to our other decisions we've got to make, which are for 2016 forward, and those two things are compartmentalised and they're very different.
Do you have a shortlist? Do you have a coaching shortlist?
Sorry, mate, what was that?
Do you have a coaching shortlist at this stage?
Yeah, we do. We do have a short list. So we've obviously had a number of discussions. We've had a clear amount of assessment over the course of the season. As I said, we're in quite a unique position. We went through this process 12 months ago, and B, we've got a good football program, but we also wanted to see through the course of this season where it was at, what were its after Phil's passing. We want to see how embedded it was, what how strong the framework was, and we're really pleased that it's a very strong framework. It's in a very healthy position. That also helps us to identify what coaches might work best here, and it's trying to ensure we get the right fit for both the football club now and into the future. So we've got a short list. As I said, we're on track to make a decision in the early part of October.
Strictly to more bus.
Andrew, if we go into the locker room, there is no locker that says principal on it. But would you stand on principle and put Patrick straight into the draft if you can't do a deal with Geelong? Like that famous one that Port Adelaide did in 2003 with Nick Stevens.
Yeah, look, we will do everything necessary and take every decision necessary to achieve the maximum and optimal compensation for the Adelaide Football Club. I can't be any clearer than that.
Last one.
Andrew, on another topic, the Brumbies today have announced they're calling in police to look at some significant questionable deals that were done. They wanted investigated by the police. Do you know anything about that? Can you shed any light on that? Because it was a time, obviously, when you were CEO.
Yeah, not really. Look, I haven't been contacted. I'm not sure whether I will be. Certainly not across any of the details, and therefore it'd be really difficult for me to comment.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. That's right. We've got to go.
Can I just touch on the Daniel Talia?
Real quick.
Are you confident that Daniel will be cleared by the AFL Integrity Unit from their investigation?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think we issued a statement earlier this week, and absolutely confident.